Greetings everyone, I'm Carrera, and first of all, I wish you all a very happy new year. I hope 2017 is full of wonderful books that you shall read, films that you shall watch, TV series that you will encounter, and trailers that will make you freak out. I decided to do my first video of the year about a classic, To Kill a Mockingbird by American author Harper Lee. I shall be reviewing the book and its 1962 film adaptation. The book was first published in 1960, and a year later it went on to win the Pulitzer Prize. It is a classic of literature and it's even taught in a lot of schools around the United States. I believe that the plot was inspired by events that happened during the author's childhood, growing up in Alabama, and she even created a character inspired on her childhood friend, the other famous author Truman Capote. The film is also a classic, considered to be by many one of the best films ever made, and it went to win 3 Academy Awards. The film stars the handsome Gregory Peck as the legendary Atticus Finch, and Robert Duvall plays Boo Radley in his first film appearance ever. To Kill a Mockingbird was Harper Lee's only published book for decades, until months before her death in 2016, when a sequel came out called Go Set a Watchman. I am currently reading it and I shall be reviewing it soon. It was quite controversial, but stay tuned and I hope you watch it when it comes out. And one more thing before I begin, this shall be a video with mild spoilers for anyone who hasn't read the book or seen the film or is familiarized with what happens in To Kill a Mockingbird. I've heard of this novel for as long as I can remember, but I must admit that it wasn't until last week that I finally read it for the first time. I'd seen bits of the film and I had an idea of what it was about, but the reason why I decided, I guess, to finally give To Kill a Mockingbird a try was because I had just recently finished reading In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I was intrigued about the friendship between these two authors and I wanted to compare their styles of writing. I knew I would like it because I love the American South. My favorite book and movie is Gone with the Wind, and while I'm really glad that I read it as an adult because I knew what was really going on with the plot and I was making observations I couldn't have made as a kid, I do wonder if what I would have thought of it had I first read it when I was young. Set in the 1930s in Alabama, we get to see the way people live in a small town in the South during the Great Depression. It's told from the point of view of Scout Finch, a young girl who lives with her father Atticus, who is a lawyer, and her slightly older brother Jem. Scout is a bit of a tomboy, and the book spans about 3 years or so of her life. We get to meet her neighbors and the relationship they all have, but most of all we get to see through the inexperienced and innocent eyes of a young girl and the way she processes things, really serious matters, for example, racism, rape, prejudices, just to name a few. Without giving too much away, two of the main storylines of the book deal with the following. The first one with one of Scout's neighbors, the mysterious Boo Radley, and that intrigues Scout and her brother Jem to no end. But we also get to see what happens in the 30s in a small American town in the South when an African American man is accused of raping a white young woman. Scout's father Atticus is a man who defends the accused, facing the scorn of many of his acquaintances. Before the novel is done, we get to see the outcome of the trial and how that affects the lives of many, including Boo Radley. I totally loved To Kill a Mockingbird. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars review. I highly suspected I was in for a treat before I read it because it is a classic and it had elements that I knew would draw me into the story, and yet I was not really expecting to find it such an enjoyable experience. But I really found it fascinating to see, for example, racism through the eyes of a young white girl, in this case, one who wasn't even subjected to it and yet she knows it's wrong. So yeah, I thought it was really well done. I can see clearly why Harper Lee won the Pulitzer Prize for this. It's a testament to compassion and solidarity and how all men are created equal. I understand now why Atticus Finch is seen by many as this symbol of hope and integrity, and it also makes you think about how unfair human beings can be to anyone who is different from them. Not because they are necessarily evil by nature, but because that's the way society works. Before I wrap up this review, I want to say 2 things about the plot lines I mentioned. The first would be that I totally loved, and this is a spoiler, Boo Radley, because even though he isn't necessarily present throughout all of the story, his absence marks the lives of those around him in a way, and I really enjoyed reading about his character through what other people thought of him. The other thing regarding the other storyline, I want to say that I found it totally fascinating and modern, and I am aware this will be a spoiler, how a young white woman felt desire for an African American man, both because of his looks and because he was kind to her. I think that that was a really touchy subject for many back in the 30s, and I guess that this is also a shocking thing for people back in the 60s when the novel first came out. Regarding the film, I enjoyed it very much, and it is a very nice adaptation of the novel, but I don't actually have that much to say about it. I prefer the book, but I did enjoy it. But if you enjoy the story that Harper Lee created, you should all watch the movie too. It's a faithful and good adaptation. This is all for my video of To Kill a Mockingbird. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you do, please let me know. Even if you didn't, let me know too. Tell me anything about this story, its author, Harper Lee's friendship with Truman Capote, the movie adaptation, my video. In the description box below, you can find the link to the Goodreads page for To Kill a Mockingbird, as well as the link to the IMDb page for its film adaptation. Remember that I shall be talking about Ghost at a Watchman soon, To Kill a Mockingbird's sequel. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful 2017. Take care. I'm Caro Herrera, the Mental Traveler. Goodbye.